Senator from Florida.
Are we in a quorum call? We are, right?
We are.
I know I'd like the quorum call to be vitiated.
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam President, I want to talk about two things just as we're waiting for Senator Wyden. First, I've been hearing all across the state of Florida, people are really concerned about this Democrat proposal to basically look at everybody's bank account. The latest is that the proposal is to take it from looking at every $600 transaction or $600 account to $10,000. Well, if you look at it, almost everybody's got a $10,000 account because what they're talking about is accumulative dollars. So why does the IRS want to look at everybody's account? It's for one reason. It's for one reason is to take more dollars out of somebody's pocket. And we can't let this happen. We have a right to privacy in this country. We should be able to not have to tell the government everything we buy. If you want to buy a sofa or anything, you shouldn't have to tell the federal government. So I completely oppose this significant overreach by the Democrats of trying to look into everybody's bank account, because that's exactly what it would do. The second thing I want to talk about is the supply chain. We have a significant problem in supply chain. And not only do we have a big problem, but if you look at what's going to happen with regard to the vaccine mandate, it's going to cause even more problems. My dad was a truck driver. If he had a choice, he'd have a tough choice. If he wasn't comfortable for whatever reason getting the vaccine, and I took the vaccine, I had COVID, then he's going to lose his job, which is going to impact a lot of American families. It's going to cause our supply chain to be in worse shape, and it's going to cause more inflation. So with President Biden's recently announced unconstitutional vaccine mandates for private businesses, the president is saying government knows best and is taking choice away from families all across our country, but clearly my state of Florida. That's not what the American people expect government to do. Government's role is to give people information. Let them give them the information, let them make good choices. They'll make good choices. My parents didn't have much of an education, but they could make good choices. They figured out what was good for our families. These decisions should be up to the individual, not government. Earlier, I asked consent to pass Senate Bill 2997, and unfortunately, the Senate Democrats objected. I hope we can find some common ground. So I hope everyone here believes you should not have to receive a vaccine in order to obtain a Social Security check or Social Security disability check. Forcing families to choose between receiving Social Security and choosing to get vaccinated is a terrible choice. That is why I've introduced legislation to protect Social Security recipients and ensure that Biden will be able to strong-arm them into compliance with his unconstitutional mandate. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Senate 2998, which is at the desk. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object.
Senator from Oregon.
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam President, because I was trying to juggle two things at once. We're talking about the Social Security UC. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Madam President, I've reserved my right to object, and as chairman of the Senate Finance Committee and as a former director of the Oregon Gray Panthers, I take a backseat to no one when it comes to protecting Americans' earned Social Security benefits. Now, we know Halloween is right around the corner, and families are getting ready for festivities, decorating their houses, picking out costumes, and watching scary movies. And my colleague from Florida seems to be getting into the spirit of all this by telling the American people scary stories about vaccines threatening their Social Security benefits. I don't believe the American people are so easily tricked. This idea is as fantastical and ridiculous as a vampire living under your bed. The fact that Republicans are trying to scare folks for political gain, I think, is just very, very disappointing. These bills are rooted in political messaging, aren't going to help to end this pandemic or take concrete steps to address actual challenges facing many of our constituents. With that, I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from Florida.
Well, clearly, I'm pretty shocked. By objecting to this bill, my colleague is suggesting that it's acceptable for the government to deny Social Security checks to American seniors and checks to those who are physically disabled because they made a personal medical choice to not receive the vaccine. This is not far-fetched. The Biden administration is already doing it to companies and people that have a job. The Social Security system is meant to help those who have spent their lives working in this country, and disability checks are designed to help those who cannot work. These checks are not a tool for government to impose its will on the people, just as it shouldn't be the position of the Biden administration to require companies to enforce a vaccine mandate. But if you're on Social Security or your parent is receiving Social Security checks, this is what my colleagues have suggested by blocking this legislation: get the vaccine or go broke. As we all know, prices are going up, and the Social Security Administration just announced a record cost of living increase in benefits to keep up with Biden's inflation crisis. Individuals dependent on Social Security still need to get gas and groceries to survive. By objecting to this simple bill, my colleague is comfortable offering an ultimatum: get the vaccine or go broke. That's wrong. It's wrong to the core and the American people. Perhaps my colleague may agree with me on a different point, that vaccine mandates shouldn't be tied to participation in Medicare, Medicaid, or CHIP. There are more than 60 million Americans on Medicare and more than 80 million Americans receiving Medicaid or CHIP assistance. These programs are important for ensuring that our families, our seniors, and our kids can stay healthy and have access to a doctor. No one should be deprived of health care because they have chosen not to receive the vaccine. It'd be simply unethical to do so. Seems like pretty common sense. My proposal would protect individuals on Medicare, Medicaid, and CHIP from any overreach in vaccine mandates like the President has done with companies. Ensure that a personal medical decision does not strip them of the access to health care they need. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Senate 2999, which is at the desk. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Reserving the right to object.
Senator from Oregon.
Mr. President, again, this deals with an area that is in the province of the Senate Finance Committee. There, I've made a special priority ensuring that Americans who count on federal health care programs can actually get the care they need. The notion that Medicare, Medicaid, and CHIP coverage could be subject to vaccination status is just nonsense, contrary to Republican views that federal coverage should be contingent on filing extensive paperwork, as conservative governors have pushed in states from sea to shining sea. Democrats believe health care is a basic human right and should be available to all. Millions of Americans have received the COVID-19 vaccine through the Medicare and Medicaid programs. That ought to be celebrated, Mr. President, as a success, rather than scaring people about their earned benefits being taken away. These bills, now 2 of them, are thoroughly about political messaging and aren't going to help to end this pandemic or do anything to address challenges facing so many of our constituents. With that, again, Mr. President, I object.
The objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from Florida.
So first off, let's remember, the President is requiring a vaccine mandate if you have a job. And so there were people there that are going to lose their job because they, for whatever reason, are uncomfortable getting the vaccine. So this is not far-fetched. I thought my colleagues had gone too far by suggesting it would be acceptable for the government to tie vaccines to Social Security checks, but this is another level of insanity. My colleague is comfortable denying health care to someone because of their vaccine status. It's really quite ironic because for the past 10 years, we've had Democrats falsely claim Republicans want insurance companies to be able to deny coverage based on pre-existing condition. But here we have it right here on the Senate floor. Democrats are doing exactly what they have falsely accused Republicans of. They want to be able to deny health care to Americans who have not received the vaccine. Does anyone really think that denying health care to people who don't want to get vaccine for whatever reason is truly in the best interest of public health? What do you do when someone is a bit hesitant on the vaccine? And we all have met people like that. For my Democrat colleague, the answer is simple. Take away their health care. Do you need to refill your arthritis prescription? It seems Democrats want to make sure that pharmacists charge you more unless you get the shot. Maybe it's time to get your physical. If you've been on Medicaid, you're left with 2 options. Either get the shot or go home because the Democrats don't want you to get your ears checked or your blood work completed, unless you've met their standard of getting a shot. And I mean, people, whether we like it or not, some people are not comfortable. It doesn't matter how poor you are, they're willing to strip you of your health insurance and take away your ability to get your prescriptions unless you get the vaccine. The American people know that these choices are wrong. And the fact that my colleague stands by the decision, I think it's outrageous. Now, hopefully we can get some common ground. So I think our colleagues have disagreed on some of these things, but let's see if we can find another one that they would agree on. That's access to housing. The Department of Housing and Urban Development provides a wide variety of housing programs meant to help individuals and families in need of a home and those who are struggling and down on their luck. They help with everything from loans for first-time home buyers to homeless shelters and housing assistance. More than 5 million people currently receive some kind of housing assistance from HUD. I can't imagine anyone would think that the government should mandate vaccines for Americans that need to have basic access to housing, or be able to limit, if you don't want to get the vaccine, your access to housing. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Senate 3000, which is at the desk. I further ask that the bill be considered, read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Mr. President, reserving the right to object.
Senator from Ohio.
Yeah, I don't want to laugh. This is too serious. But we have the chairman of the Republican Senate Campaign Committee that comes down to the floor. He knows better. I mean, he just knows better. He knows this is a political stunt. It's what he does. I don't think the chair of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee gets paid extra to do this kind of stuff, but it's just clearly a political stunt. He knows. He doesn't really know. I don't know what he knows. But I do know that I haven't seen his interest in housing since he's been in the Senate. I'm the chair of the Housing Committee. When I was ranking member with Senator Crapo, for whom I have great respect, I didn't see any. But all of a sudden, he's got this interest in low-income people's housing to make sure that they have safe, accessible, affordable places to stay. He knows, he should know, I don't know how he would know, that HUD is not requiring proof of vaccination for people to use their services. There is no hint of any of us. I mean, I do more in housing, because I'm lucky enough to be chair of this committee, I do more in housing than perhaps anybody in this body, at least one of the 3 or 4 that do the most. And I don't know anybody that's saying we're going to require proof of vaccination. So it's just a political stunt. I don't know if the senator from I think it's Florida, I'm not sure. The senator from Florida is going to, as soon as this is over, take down these debates and show how he's standing up for people's access to housing, especially low income. But he's proposing the Senate take up and pass a bill to address a problem that just isn't happening. The sad part is we know how real housing issues are in this country. It isn't a stunt for people trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rent. We know before, Mr. President, the pandemic, 25% of renters in this country were paying more than half their income for rent. That means the car breaks down. It means their child gets sick. It means they have a minor workplace injury and they miss a